Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. We have suddenly developed this penchant, I don't know, in recent times about happy everything, including happy Sunday and happy Saturday. So I suppose happy Democracy Day. Anyway, it's very, very good to be here. And you're at home because you're not at work today. Well, most of you, we are. There's some other people that are just like that. And so the president's speech has been delivered, and we've listened to it. It's stirring stuff. He's raised all the issues, actually, 19 years on, and the third anniversary of the Buhari administration. As we were saying in the build-up to today, there's still a lot more that needs to be done, and the president indeed didn't demean that. Well, we were lucky to be able to fly in, as it were, the Akwa Ibom resident electoral commissioner, two-time resident electoral commissioner, Mike Igini. Mike, as always, it's good to have you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Yori. It's nice to be here.
Indeed, it's always our pleasure.
To engage with Nigerians once again.
Especially as you keep your eye on the polity. There was a time when, you know, now you're an umpire, and so you try to stay in the middle, you know, but there was a time before all of that when you were an analyst, an observer of the polity. I imagine that there'll be still as much as that as can be from an umpire. So give me, what do you think? What would be your assessment of our democracy, bearing in mind the crucial role that your organization has in ensuring a continuity of the good aspects of democracy?
First, thank you very much, and good morning to Nigerians. My first response to one of the issues you just raised there about our role in the past and the present and looking to the future. There is nothing I have found in any government book that says that a public officer should not engage in honest and truthful discussion of his own society. And the fact is that if you have held yourself out to the public as an advocate of public issues, you must remain so, irrespective of public office. The only problem we have in our part of this world is that we don't like the truth. But if you're in public office, it will only reveal truly who you are before you came in. It reveals who you are. It does not change you. And so for me, as someone, on a day like this, that we are celebrating democracy, I have a responsibility to my society to make a fair assessment of 19 years of democracy, even though you are talking about the third year anniversary of this government. In addition. Because government will come and go. The journey of Nigeria is forever. And so, as someone who joined other Nigerians at a much younger age, when the journey of Nigeria and the prospect of democracy was less certain, we put in everything that we could to return Nigeria to a democratic rule. The struggle, particularly after the annulment of June 12, culminated in the eventual exit of the military in 1999. And so, after the civilian administration came in, as usual, and perhaps it will ever be, society was divided as to which day that should be regarded as Democracy Day in Nigeria. I am with a number of Nigerians, and I believe we are more in number, we ought to believe that 29th of May is the day that the reign of civil administration was handed over to civilian by the military. But that if we are talking about celebration of democracy, really, it should have been June 12th. That should truly be claimed as a democracy day. It's the most fitting day. All right? And
you still stand by that particular
And at the
choice.
best, it should be the 1st of October.
Okay.
So, but people who are powerful, the number who are powerful said it must be on the 29th. So for me and for a number of Nigerians, 29th represents a day that civilians took over. And even the Bible tells us that even while some of us we are looking forward to June 12th, where we also come really celebrate, the Bible says that when people are celebrating, join them to celebrate. It's on that basis that some of us, we symbolically also seem to be part of today. And so what is now important is that now that we are celebrating democracy, 19 years of democracy, how far have we gone? The whole embrace of democracy is because it brings about participation and accountability in the process of human development. And so when we are looking at democracy, as we are looking toward 2019, which is a question of 265 days from today, the question is, the journey so far, how far have we gone in terms of party formation and party management? How far have we gone in this country in terms of party management? Modern democracy is inconceivable without political parties, because political parties are the essential organ of the democratic process. 19 years so far, I will say that our parties are not strong, they are still very anemic, they are very weak, on account of the collapse of ideology.
Okay, Mike. You see, you've actually begun to answer. You can't know it, but the other question that I had, which was that, look, 19 years of democracy, third anniversary of this particular administration, and as the president observed in his speech this morning, they came along with a difference, if you want, their unique selling point, which is that we can't continue to do what has been done since from the beginning if we're going to survive. In other words, we have to have change. And he talked about continuing to deliver that change. Now, the question I was going to ask that you have actually begun to, scope was, in terms of how we used to do things in the political arena all those years ago, go back 19 years, and this administration, are we in different times? Are we in different climes in terms of how Nigerians have perceived politicians? Because I think the participation is very, very important. What's your read as a member of this society on the attitude, the perception of Nigerians to the political class?
I must say that as a Nigerian and as one who has not lost touch with my base, the public perception index of political office holders is still very low in our country. This is largely because after 19 years, because since 1999, democracy has worked more and benefited the political elites. Public office holders, elected and appointed, than the ordinary people, the Nigerian people. The Nigerian people are still not yet there in terms of true benefit of democracy. Rather, it's the elite. And regrettably, painfully, those who have benefited more from this democracy were the very ones that were with the military for so long. They supported the military. They said military must not go. That in fact, this country as we know it will never survive if military were asked to go to the barracks, today, they are the ones who have benefited more. As at 1999, when we returned back, one hope that some of us had, but that was largely lost on account of what even the civil society did as at that time, those who fought for democracy, was the fact that it would have been those who fought for democracy who should have started the reign takeover of democracy. But what we found was that it was only the southwest of Nigeria that those who fought for democracy actually took over during the elections. At that time, the cost of election was so minimal. I know of late Pa Adefarati of Ondo State, and a number of them that won elections, it was not based
They weren't money bags.
on the use of money. They were not money bags. These were people that had pedigree. They had records of having been on the side of the majority, standing tall for people like that. And so they were voted in. But today, one of the greatest threats after 90 years of our democracy is the use of money, particularly starting from the primary process. The primary processes, or talking about congresses, in particular primaries, you see the use of money. Now we have degenerated to a level where people openly buy the votes at the polling unit.
So isn't this one of the things that, thank God for INEC, that INEC is there, but that might be the initial thought of an ordinary Nigerian, but it would appear INEC is powerless in this circumstance here to regulate that aspect. As you know, there are rules, you know more than most, there are rules about money in elections and the part they can play and the extent. It's
all over the world.
It's very difficult, right?
Let us be clear here. There's no politics or political system where money is not used. But the use to which money is put in other parts of the world and what will happen in Nigeria is a real issue. In the United States, the use of money is with respect to adverts, buying airtime, to publicize your party policies, your programs, what you want to do, how you want to do it, to be known to the people of the society. But right here, what we are seeing is that raw cash is given to the ordinary people to cast a vote in one direction.
Directly.
And that is why poverty, ignorance constitute the greatest threat to our democracy. Because one of the fundamental flaws of liberal democracy is the assumption that in a democracy, the people will make informed choices. But from what we have seen in 19 years, it will look as if the elite, the political class in Nigeria, they have a vested interest in the poverty of the people by ensuring that when they are poor, in an election period, you give them 500 naira, 1,000 naira, and I saw a very beautiful analysis on a WhatsApp a few days ago, where somebody made a calculation that if you are an electorate, a voter in Nigeria, and you sell both your present and your future good governance on the basis of 500 naira or 1,000 naira, he tabulated in such a way that for 4 years, you are basically being given on a daily basis maybe 2 kobo. And so, looking back after 19 years, we find this unacceptable. Party management, party formation, internal party democracy.
Yeah, but Mike,
how far have we gone?
But Mike, this aspect which is crucial, and you've explained that anywhere in the world, money is indispensable.
But
anywhere, how it is done. Now, that is what we've been trying to address, I would imagine, in society. But largely it's coming from shall we say, this very pauperization of the general society that we're talking about, people not being educated enough to know. Look at that beautiful analysis you made. Over the next 4 years, if you took a bottle of Fanta and a loaf of bread, is equal to 2 kobo.
Yes.
But the people, I don't know how to put this delicately. It's like the political class banks on and trades on the fact that my people no worry, they're no sabi. The people that sabi, so to speak, just a handful. But the teeming masses, it's a babake, ranka dede, ajepe aye, and that's all that they know. And they're trading on that. I'm guessing that this situation is going to remain with us for a little while yet. We still have challenges ahead because it's not going to change in the next 1 or 2 years.
I agree with you. And this is where the problem, why some of us at some point we feel like giving up on this country. You know, sometimes. Because no society can make progress outside the limit of the vision of its elites. They are the totem. They are to provide the direction. They are to provide the moral authority for society to go. Now, the reason why we're where we are today is because the elite, and to change this situation, you require a critical mass of individuals with pristine values, decent people who recognize the fact that even when the Bible says that there will be poor in the Bible, it is not the business of the leaders to make people more poorer, to have more people in the poverty line, you know, by way of increase. It will reduce that. Now, they believe, in fact, if you see the actions, inactions of some people who occupy public offices, you wonder whether in an ideal society, people who perpetuate this should be in leadership position. That a politician who wants to go to high office, because a leader, an elected or appointed office holder, you are supposed to be a role model. Society will become unviable when you don't have the right set of role model. So you now have politicians who want to recruit thugs, who want to disrupt the electoral process, who are stashing money to buy electorate, to the extent now that there's a danger that even those who are performing in public office, they are even now vulnerable, as we have seen in the last few elections. Those who have even performed, who ordinarily should have been rewarded on the basis of your performance in office, you are also now being dragged into having to give money to people. Now, that brings in the role of the security.
Okay, but
the role of the security, indeed, because you asked a question, how do we deal with that?
Yes, because I was going
INEC cannot, as an institution, as an umpire, as an election official, who is to conduct election, to now be the one chasing after people who are buying vote, asking to cast a vote, then you go to somewhere to go and collect a balance. In 2013, Nigeria cannot be in autarky of best practices. In 2013, we were in Kenya. The March 4th election of 2013, the campaign manager of a member of parliament was found with envelopes containing monies to bribe electorate. Who arrested him? He was arrested by the police in Kenya. I was in Kenya. The second day, on the 5th, he was arraigned in court. He was convicted and sentenced to 3 years imprisonment. Election was still ongoing because the result of that election, it commenced on the 4th. The result was declared on the 9th of March. That is how people should take up their responsibility.
At the beginning, Mike, you remember you said, among other things, one of our challenges, one of our issues is we don't like the truth.
Yes.
Now, see, because this is part of the challenge. I suppose it's a part of our lives where we actually know the right things to say, but it doesn't mean that we're going to do any of those right things. In other words, I'm talking about, you spoke about the kind of leaders that Nigeria has been, shall we say, unfortunate to have had, and all that is that they're not quite the role models that we want, that we need, I beg your pardon. I wanted to add, but I didn't want to break your flow, I wanted to add Also, the lack of selflessness and a certain desperation to get into office that befuddles the mind. Say, wait a minute, what is going on here? Why are people ready to die? People that will not die for ideology are dying for a particular office. So you see that selflessness is not really the strongest point that we have seen among the leaders. Maybe it's going to get better, or it is getting better, I don't know. But this whole attitude of selflessness to do all the things that you've said, we have to contend with the fact that our job, and in particular yours, is going to be complicated for a bit by these truisms on the ground. No matter what we say when we come to lecture. We go to schools, we go to universities, we go everywhere, we lecture. But I like what you said. We don't like the truth. Nobody speaks the truth.
Look, Iyori, I must tell you, we have got to a level. I grew up somewhere in Ondo State. The value of the community where I grew up, what we're taught, the value of honesty, integrity, that when you are given honor, and you say you are looking for money, where you see money, where will you see honor to buy?
Okay.
People who should occupy public offices should not be people of reprobate characters.
Yes.
Should not be people who have no philosophical insight to what leadership is all about.
Whose values are questionable.
To preside over public affairs on behalf of a people requires high responsibility. It's a privilege to serve. But the stomach of so many people we have seen in this country who have held offices, and some seen in the public offices, they are nothing but a museum of horror. We are told that when a Japanese man goes to work, he toils not only for his family, for himself, but he thinks about the greater glory of the Japanese nation. And so, the collapse of value in our society, the pyramid of our value is upside down. Dishonesty is on top. If you are a dishonest person, you are likely to be rewarded. You are likely to survive in our system for a very long time. And honesty is now at the base.
Which is a very complicated state of affairs.
We have got to a level where there's no shame anymore in our country.
This is yet we must carry on.
Our sense of decency is almost gone. We are not only people that tell lies, we even believe our own lies.
And part of the challenge is
tragedy.
that... Yes.
For you to even first to tell lies and also to believe your own lies is a tragedy. And so truth is the first casualty in our society. But from the ashes, from the ruins of missed opportunities, we still try to encourage ourselves that the only way we can change any society, it has to do with leadership, because everything rises and falls with leadership. Look, I have seen, we are still seeing, that when we're in the school, those who are not doing well, those who were on the bottom of the class when we left school, because the very best, as we have seen for decades, when the university, or those who made first class and all the best, they went to oil companies, went to all other blue chip companies. But what happened? Those dropouts, they took over politics. And when they took over politics, what we are saying is that you find in so many places the worst leading the best. But that should not be the situation at all. And so, no leader or no society can rise above the values of its ruling elites.
Are you therefore surprised, Mike, that at the seeming difficulty we're experiencing, when I say we are, all the political structures, our political parties, with congresses, with primaries, look at all the complaints, look at all the, near catastrophes coming together to try and sort it out. And also the example that the political class is given to our 10-year-olds, that in another 15 years, they're seeing all of this, in another 15 years, might begin to be active on the political field.
That is my worry. And that's why I talk about role model. Society transits, survive on the basis of role model. Who are our role model? That is the problem. That's my worry for Nigeria. And so, 19 years of democracy, why should we be talking about people trying to undermine the electoral process? In Ghana, neighboring country here, election period is a period for the renewal of the journey of a society. It's an opportunity for the renewal of those who have been leading and the value they have brought to governance. And so, like also in the US, election time is the period where everybody should look out to with some excitement. That look, okay, we have tried these ideas for a long time. What are the alternatives and all of that? That is what it talks. So it can never be thought of that somebody will think of how you want to sabotage Carida, how you want to ensure that on that day, bring out talks. It is all, how do you expect the kind of people to be talking about holding public office in our country? And that is why today, after 19 years, no political party in Nigeria, you talked about each about congressive primaries. How do you explain that 19 years of democracy, no political party can show you a credible register of members? The result is that whenever they are going to do congresses, both political primary, you'll be hearing of list of elders, list of this, list of that. You should have a register of members. After all, INEC cannot conduct election. Universally, it is taken that the foundation of a credible election must be based on the existence of a register. 19 years of democracy, we do not have register of voter. 19 years of democracy, internal democracy is still a problem. And that's one of the issues the chairman, a former chairman, raised in the lecture yesterday.
Warning of danger ahead.
That the danger is talking about, we have seen how congresses are being done right now. The most challenging one ahead of us will be the primary processes. Because if in election, dealing with just management of your party, you are seeing this. Now, when it comes to holding public offices with all the appurtenances that are, Nigeria, the incentives are so high. The chairman is worried about that. Former chairman is worried about that. So, he has also raised the issue about the legal regime, the legal framework. I have seen, Nigerians have seen also, the proposed 2018 Electoral Act that should be used for the 2019 elections. We have seen profound provisions. I must commend the National Assembly for the initiative to deal with the issue of primaries in that Electoral Act. But as the chairman said, has it been passed? And that's why he was reminding the nation that be aware of our commitment to this, the treaty we signed, the ECOWAS protocol, the AU, that says that the legal regime, the legal framework for the conduct of election must be ready a minimum of 6 months to the election. Ideally, if you go by universal practice, best practice, it should be a year to an election to bring about the sanctity of the law. These are very crucial defining issues for 2019. It is not much how far we have gone, but wherever we are, where we are making assessment, we now ask ourselves, going forward, what should we do differently? As INEC also is going to do a number of things with respect to Osun election, Ekiti election, Osun election, and more seriously, the 2019 election, so that the electoral process will continue to be a body, a management entity that will committed to the conduct of free, fair, and credible election that will meet the aspiration of Nigerian people by assuring that this time around, we should reduce election petition matters. The final decision of the Nigerian people must be determined at the last point of collation. And we are doing a number of things to deal with issues about from the polling unit, the last collation center, to do that, so that in 2019, it is the will of the people expressed in the 1,020 polling unit that will determine who becomes what.
Let's take a break at this stage, and when we come back, we'll of course take your calls. I imagine there are a lot of observations and comments, maybe even questions that you want to ask our guest, Mike Igini, resident electoral commissioner of Akwa Ibom. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. So welcome back and having this chat with Mike Igini, Resident Electoral Commissioner in Akwa Ibom. And it's Democracy Day. The President has laid out all the issues, quite frankly, that we need to touch and need to be familiar with as we go towards 2019. INEC, we can take it for granted that INEC will do, is in a good position to do its job, right?
Right.
We can take that for granted.
No, sure. We are, and in fact, we are doing very well, I can tell you. A society, a nation must have something to build on. The election of 2011, 2015, and the subsequent election to date, which the last one was in Anambra State, are clearly a remarkable departure from the elections pre-2011. But we are not where we should be in terms of our processes. And so in 2019, even starting from Osun State here, you begin to see new things. The concern about separate accreditation, that is now we're doing simultaneous accreditation. The use of the car reader, 2019, all things being equal, there will be no incident form. Incident form was used to sabotage the car reader. The car reader, we are doing hardware enhancement. The fingerprint window, as at 2015, was much smaller, and that's part of the reason we have difficulties. It's been expanded. People have been sent out of the country. We have done that. We are doing software. Software enhancement has been completed. That is to say, it's much easier to verify your biometrics right now. Now, and perhaps very important, it's process enhancement. The process enhancement is with respect to the declaration of the result at the polling unit. The reason why we want the Electoral Act to be out as quickly as possible is that at the polling unit, given what we have seen contained in that act, by 2019, party agents, you should come to the polling unit to verify first before the poll official commences election. The ballot papers must be seen there. The result sheet must be seen there. You can even video record everything at the polling unit. But the most important thing for Nigerians has always been that between polling unit and the last point of collation, there have always been issues raised and concerned. That also will be addressed in terms of now, from the polling unit, once the results have been declared at the polling unit, duplicate given to the party agents, from EC60E, showing the results of the parties there, will be written and pasted at the polling unit. But immediately, the presiding officer will have to transmit immediately that result to the collation center. It will be straight away to the collation center. At the same time, before proceeding to undertake what they call the audit trail process, from the polling unit to the work collation center, from the work collation center to the state constituency collation center with respect to State House of Assembly, or that of Rep, Senatorial, State, and of course, the last one with respect to presidential election will be in the International Conference Center in Abuja. Now, before the presiding officer gets to where he's going to the collation center, the result would have been sent. That is the process. And we are working with NICOM SAT to ensure that, because of issue about coverage and all that, you know, a particular telecom station could cover a particular area, but the level of effectiveness may be an issue. So we are working to go satellite to deal with that, so that the sanctity of the ballots should not be a question of crisis of confidence. The Nigerian people will now know that your results are declared at the polling unit. Once sent to the collation center, it has to be tallied first, whether it corresponds with the audit trail. For the purpose of, if people decide to go to tribunal, then of course, you know, the document will also be there.
Oh, one moment, please. Let me take a caller. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you very much for calling in.
Uncle Yori, thank you for bringing in Mike. The man,
we thank Mike for coming.
Yes, a man that I love so much. He was the only wreck that was visibly not compromised by money during the time of past elections that corruption reigned. And I remember he is also the author of the card reader technology. I've heard what he's been saying, and I will urge him to please not give up. Uncle Yori, I wonder why a man like this is not the chairman of INEC. Unfortunately, I'm not the one that appoints people, but I think he's best suited for that job. What I need to advise Mike is that he shouldn't give up in the midst of all the pressures to divert him from the course he has embarked upon. What Nigeria needs is exactly what he's saying. Unfortunately, not too many people are ready to listen to what is true and ideal. But the suggestion I would like to make to him is that what he has said about the improvement and enhancement of the card reader technology should go on, and also look forward to electronic voting. Okay. Vote buying and electoral corruption is not something that can be arrested in a day. But the way and manner that he and his colleagues are going about it right now is the way to, stop it eventually. They should just continue like that, irrespective of whose ox is God. So I wish him strength with his mission. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. George.
This is the way we must go, because it is the fear of the people.
Sorry, how about that call by Nigerians in diaspora?
Yes.
That, look, we're Nigerians. It just so happens that for whatever reason, economic or not, we're not home. But we are Nigerians. Can't we vote from abroad? I know it was being considered at one time.
Yes. We agree with them. They need to vote. But at the moment, we are ready as a commission in terms of what it takes to do that. We are ready. But the legal regime is not there for us, because you have to change the constitution, their provision in the Electoral Act. You understand? With respect to the mode of voting, you vote where you register, issues like that.
Yeah.
So you need to change all of that.
Before...
as a matter of fact, if you look at our database, one of the issue we're talking about, apathy, really, if you interrogate it very well, it's not really much of an apathy. In Ghana here, do you know that in this country, as an umpire, why am I being denied the right to vote? Because I'm an umpire. I should go and vote, because the life I am living with my children living in this country is not different from the other people.
Not many Nigerians will know that. Are you saying that INEC members are precluded from voting?
We don't vote. Not that there's a lot of that effect.
Okay.
But in the case of umpire, we can say, okay. But what you say, in Ghana, for instance, all security personnel in Nigeria today, they don't vote in elections. Yet, they all have permanent voters card, they all register. They are on the national database. But in Ghana, if you are going to have election on a Saturday, all security personnel, armed forces, they will cast their vote on a Wednesday. But the ballot boxes will be kept and will not be counted until day of election in respect of that particular polling unit. That is what is done. Today in Nigeria, we don't do that.
One moment, I got to interrupt you, I beg your pardon. Reverend Dominic is standing by. Good morning, Reverend.
Good morning, Chief Yori.
Thank you for calling in. You know it's just Yori.
Yori, thank you for making me to celebrate today by bringing Mike Igini to the studio. We have been accused several times, we in the civil society, that whenever we go to government, we change. But Mike Igini has been the one of us that go to government and remain the same. I don't know how I'm going to lobby this. I would like Mike Igini to go to River State and become a reg in 2019. So we can arrest this violence that people go to office with the blood of our brothers and sisters. But that's by the way. Mike Igini has done well, and I'm praying for him every day. He will be chairman of INEC one day. I'm very, very sure. I'm very, very sure of that. That's my prayer. But we must not leave election in the hand of umpires. Umpires are referees. They are one place. As long as the mentality of politicians and Nigeria do not change, we cannot have free and fair election. Again, as long as the military or the police take sides, what happened in Kenya cannot happen here. Number 3, you said that in Kenya, immediately the man was caught, he was charged the next day, and he was convicted. If it's in Nigeria, he will collapse in court. Now we want to throw him abroad first for medical treatment before we start the trial. Our system here at times can look hopeless. But God is here. Mike, again, I greet you. This morning, the speech of Mr. President makes me sad. Let me tell you one day here. But Chief Yori have put joy in my heart for bringing Mike again. Thank you, Mr. President, this morning. I thought you could say from now to this time, our brothers and sisters in IDP will go back home. But Mr. President not mentioned that. He said we are going to make IDP convenient for people to live. How can IDP be convenient? No toilet, no school.
Yeah, but there's also mention about doing everything to return them to their own homes.
This is what I'm trying to say. If that could be our priority, to return them where they belong to, in their premarital home.
We lost that line. Dominic? I think that call dropped, but I think we got the gist.
Right.
We got the gist.
A rigged election connotes absence of election. And that's the point I made at the election on Tuesday or Wednesday, engendering issue-based campaign for 2019, that a rigged election is tantamount to shooting the hip of democracy. And that is why you see, public office is such a sensitive office that you require people who are disciplined, who will recognize the fact that by virtue of the privileged position they have occupied, which is transient, it's not forever. Your business is to enhance, to add to the curriculum of the life of the people. And that's why you are entrusted with public office. So for us, being as the umpire, we will do everything we need to do. But we know that the success of election all over the world, particularly in Nigeria, will be dependent on the cooperation and collaboration of not only the umpire, security, the media, the political parties and their candidates, as well also as the electorate. Okay. For the umpire, we will remain neutral and put INEC to the service of the Nigerian people.
Good morning, Yakub. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, good morning, Chief Yori.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, Chief Yori. And then thank you, Chief Yori, for bringing the friend of the house.
We thank Mike for finding time to come.
Yes, because we really miss Mike Guinea in the house. Because this is the person that we know always say the truth the way it is. Let me throw the way of Reverend Dominic. Because I'm afraid that they should transfer Mike Guinea to River State. Because this is the person I believe not any governor or any senator, whoever you think you had, that you can bribe him to take money to compromise his own belief. Mike Guinea, keep it on, because you are the one of the civil society that I've ever seen in my life that being in the government worker still remain the way it is right from the beginning. You are not like, I'm sorry to mention it, please, Shivori, I'm sorry to mention it.
Well, if you're going to be sorry, why go ahead and mention it? You've already said you're going to be sorry.
For the record purposes, sir, you are not like Shehu Sani of this world.
Oh,
and some
dear.
other people, because we believe when Shehu Sani, I believe Shehu Sani so much, because I believe when he become a senator, he could be able to tell the Senate president and other people in that Senate, let's cut our running cost. If you can mention 13.something million as a running cost for a senator, what did he do? What is the motion? Did he sponsor any bill in order to cut it down? That is number one. Number two.
Well, at least he told us all about it. But sorry, Yakub, I got to make room for other callers. We really appreciate your call.
God bless.
Indeed, thank you very much. The other point I was thinking about, Mike, is that INEC is what it is. It's an umpire. It also organizes and all of that. But you also have to watch, because you're interested, along with just about everybody else, all the agencies, in the successful conclusion of an election. Now, the way the police go about their work, which is crime busting, is they sometimes, not sometimes, I suppose all the time, have to be studying the minds of criminals and know how to be sometimes foiling crime. I wonder if INEC finds itself in the very awkward position of having to figure out how politicians are going to be sabotaging the process, are going to be trying to rig the process, which is a bit unusual because politicians are supposed to be high up and leaders and role models and all of those things, but we know what they are. Is it a bother that perhaps INEC has to be trying to figure out the next fix, the next crooked way, the next wuru-wuru, the next trickery that's going to be brought to bear, and how to foil it?
Mr. Ayori, in the 120,000 polling units of the 36 states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the flashpoint area are known, are well documented. We have the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, made up of the IG at the national level, with National Commissioner, our chairman, respected chairman, Professor Mahmoud, in Abuja. At the state level, myself and the CP were at the head of this agency, working with them to show them flashpoints where to deal with. My appeal, because INEC election officials are never trained in the act of disarming armed thugs. But we can also see that we have also made remarkable progress compared to 2007 or 2002 or 2003, where thugs were running riot everywhere, carrying ballot boxes all over the place. Yeah. You know, since 2011, you would have seen the progress we have made over time to deal with that. Under the Jega leadership, we set up the security, and it has worked very well. Our appeal to security personnel is that you must remain neutral, just like INEC. INEC must remain neutral.
Because that's been a problem in the past.
As we speak to you, over 205 INEC officials are already on trial. My worry is that the trial is taking too long. We want this thing to be done as quickly as possible, because, you know, to rig election, to bring in people who are not to be in office to be there, is the greatest tragedy you will do to a society. That should not happen. And so, security, neutrality must be absolute. INEC must be totally neutral. And that neutrality is why we are now being innovative, and imaginative in terms of creating process to reduce the human agency. We want to reduce the extent of human involvement by introducing one measure on a incremental basis, of technology to be able to deal with human frailties.
I'll have to take it. Nelson in Lekki, good morning, and thank you for holding on.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ayori.
Thank you very much for calling in.
We call it thank you for bringing in Mike. At least I've known Mike all the way from Calabar to Benin and all the states he has visited. My worry here is that the current INEC is not putting energy around the cause which he knows that we have a serious election at hand come 2019. It's like even the ex-chairman, Jega, has been vocal about what is anticipated come 2019. But the current INEC, I don't know, the energy level around what is coming, I don't really know if he can really withstand this hurricane, because I will call it hurricane, that is coming in 2019. I really feel for people like Mike, because by now he has been state electoral commissioner for years. He has not been to the national level. Then what are we talking about? The people that are brilliant and are truthful in this country are always put down there and just to be contributing. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for calling in, Nelson. I don't know if that's exactly the way you see it.
First, thank you very much. The truth is that the current leadership, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, is providing a very profound leadership in terms of what he has midwifed so far. Since the history of the commission, he has been one who has conducted the highest number of off-season elections. It was his coming in that for the first time introduced the CVR, that is the continuous voter registration exercise on the basis of a continuous basis since on the 27th of April 2017. Unlike in previous years from 1960 till 27th of April last year, what we normally have in this country is a situation where you are going for election, few days to you start doing registration. So now to deal with our absence of poor data in Nigeria, he commenced that process on the 27th of last year. And though that is to the credit. Secondly, the current efforts to ensure that we transmit the result from the polling unit to the collation center. Once that happens, starting with all things being equal, with Ekiti State, clearly that will be coming under the current leadership of Professor Yakubu Mahmood. In terms of other internal processes, all right, that will enhance credibility of the election, so much is being done. What we want to see right now, because Nigerians have also heard some of these things and so on and so forth, we want to see the results. So we want to be more demonstrable, you understand? So sometimes we talk about them, sometimes we want to see them by way of results. So in terms of what is going on under this current leadership, so much is being done by him, building on what Professor Jega left, what we started in 2011 when we came on board. INEC is one institution you can see that is making progress. Unlike, this is where we have also failed as a people. 19 years of democracy after the last local government conducted by INEC. Since 1999 till date, we have not made progress at the foundational stages of democracy. Our democracy, I must be frank with you, it has no foundation at all. Because how do you explain that in the 774 local government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, in this country today, whenever elections are conducted by political parties in respective states, in all the states of the Federation, they win this thing 100%. This is not true. These are pure shenanigans. It's a rape of democracy.
Yeah.
No democracy. So for 19 years, it's a failure of democracy at the level of the election that should be more important to the Nigerian people. Majority of Nigerian people are domiciled in the local government. What is happening in local government? Why are we giving up? Allowing governors. The governors have hijacked the local government system in Nigeria and also hijacked their fund to the joint state account. And so we must look at that very seriously because we are failing in that area after 19 years of democracy.
Maxwell in Tema, Ghana. Good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to my senior brother, Edini.
Good morning. Morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Thank you.
Maxwell is a Nigerian in Ghana.
Yes, I wept today when I listened to our president, spoke to Nigerians concerning the Democracy Day and what to celebrate about democracy in Nigeria. For me, I am disappointed. I cannot see Nigerian democracy as a blessing, 19 years on, as a blessing, if a nation, if I'm not mistaken, the 26th or 27th or 28th biggest economy in the world, the biggest in Africa, cannot, touting 7,000 megawatts generating capacity. Ghana here is touting 10,000, less than 30 million people. There are 10,000, and we've been working assiduously to get it to 13,000. And we are celebrating 7,000, despite the amount that was injected into the power sector. It's a pity. A nation that cannot secure her people, there is nothing to celebrate about. A nation that will tell you how inflation rate has gone down. Is it reflecting on the poor people in Nigeria? There is nothing to celebrate about. Okay, as a former military personnel, I can give them kudos in fighting Boko Haram. But the killer herdsmen that is killing people in Nigeria for the past, let me say, more than 4,000 or 5,000 people are dead. And it is ongoing in Nigeria. Do we supposed to celebrate anything in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you very much for calling. I really appreciate your call, but time is the enemy here. And on that last point, I think the president has said that, maybe he should have said it earlier, that these people will now be, as it were, confronted and stopped in their track, and the needful would be done. But we just have seconds here. Yes,
Well, for me, when the Americans were faced with some situation we are faced with at the early stages of their democracy, it was Alfred Smith, the fourth governor of New York, who made a declaration that no matter what we have gone through as a people and as a nation, the whole embrace of democracy is that it brings about participation and accountability in the process of human development. And so, for me, and to the rest of Nigerians, that the ill of democracy can only be cured by better democracy. No society can survive outside reward and sanction. There's so much reward in Nigeria for public office holders, but there are no sanctions. Absence of sanction is what has also reflected when people commit electoral malfeasance. Some of us were able to secure conviction in Cross River State for toiling with the process. But as we work towards 2019, from the INEC, we'll continue to put the commission at the service of the people, for political parties, candidates, the judiciary, the media. You must set agenda, finally, on 5 issues, as my closing remarks, which are 2019 should be based on issues: security, education, health, economy, infrastructure. These are things that matter to the Nigerian people, so that the debate by political parties, their candidate, should be based on these issues.
Thank you very much, Mike. We've completely run out of time, so that religion and all those kind of parochial sentiments should not come into it. Thank you very much, Mike Igini. It's been a pleasure to have you, and you saw, so it was to our viewers as well. Okay, so that's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.